You do not become a spy through a secret envelope or dramatic invitation. It begins with a quiet government job advert asking for judgment, discretion, and resilience. Nothing mentions car chases or gadgets. You read it twice, close the laptop, then open it again. When you submit the application, you know that parts of your life may never feel completely ordinary again. The application becomes your first secret. Friends ask what jobs you are considering, and you give vague answers about government work. It feels exciting at first, but secrecy quickly becomes less glamorous when it means changing the subject around people you trust. Before training even begins, you learn that information is shared only with those who genuinely need it. The first tests are not about weapons or impossible codes. They measure reasoning, memory, judgment, and how you choose between several imperfect options. Intelligence work is rarely about finding one obvious truth. It is about making a defensible decision, while important pieces of the picture are still missing. At the interview, the questions become personal. They ask about mistakes, loyalty, money, relationships, and moments when you failed under pressure. The panel is not looking for perfection. They want honesty, self-awareness, and someone who can be trusted when nobody is watching. You leave unsure whether admitting your weaknesses helped or ended your chances. Then comes the paperwork. Years of addresses, travel, jobs, friendships, and personal history are placed under a microscope. The organization is not only checking whether you can keep secrets, it is checking whether your own secrets could be used against you. The process is uncomfortable because hidden vulnerabilities can become leverage. The vetting interview lasts longer than expected. Questions move calmly through money, family, online habits, and past decisions. There are no dramatic accusations, only patient repetition. The interviewer watches whether your story remains consistent. You learn that trust is built by telling the truth before someone else discovers it. Weeks later, the offer arrives. It is deliberately plain. Instructions, dates, and a reminder not to discuss the role. You feel pride and unease at the same time. You're entering a profession where success may never be recognized, failure may never be explained, and the most important work may remain invisible. Your first day begins at a building designed to look forgettable. Phones are locked away, passes are checked repeatedly, and conversations stop at secure doors. The security feels excessive until you remember that the building contains identities, operations, and information that could endanger real people. You sit with recruits from military, policing, technology, analysis, and language backgrounds. The instructor makes one point immediately. Spies are not lone heroes. Intelligence work depends on analysts, case officers, surveillance teams, engineers, translators, and support staff. The myth of the solitary operative disappears before lunch. Training begins with observation. You are shown a busy street and asked to remember what mattered. You recall clothing and colors, but miss exits, routines, and changes in behavior. You had looked without truly observing. The lesson is simple. Attention is a skill, and confidence does not make memory accurate. Next comes cover. Not a theatrical disguise, but a believable explanation for who you are and why you are there. The best cover stays close to the truth because every invented detail must be remembered. The goal is not to seem interesting. It is to appear completely ordinary. During a training exercise, you follow a target through a crowded shopping district. You become too focused and drift closer than planned. An instructor quietly removes you from the team. The lesson stings. Determination can make you visible. Good surveillance relies on patience, distance, and teamwork. Back in the training room, every mistake is reconstructed. Where did you stand? What could the target see? Which decision created risk? Nobody shouts. The calm analysis leaves nowhere to hide. You learn that an admitted mistake can be corrected, but an unexamined one becomes dangerous. A controlled exercise introduces covert communication. You must place a harmless training object without attracting attention. A cleaner blocks the route, strangers occupy the area, and your timing collapses. The lesson is flexibility. Plans matter, but reality has no obligation to cooperate. After training, you are posted to a fictional British diplomatic mission overseas. Officially, the job sounds routine. In reality, local security services watch foreign officials closely. The city is beautiful, but full of invisible pressure. Every journey may be noticed, and every friendship may be assessed. You rent an ordinary apartment, learn the commute, and become a familiar face in local cafes. A believable life cannot look staged. You remember neighbors, attend work events, and build natural routines. The more convincing the life becomes, the stranger it feels knowing that nobody around you sees the full person. An analyst identifies someone who may have valuable access. Your first task is not to recruit them, but to understand them. What pressures shape their choices? What do they fear or care about? The file slowly becomes a human being, and the moral weight of the job becomes real. The first contact is designed to look accidental, a professional event, a shared interest, and a short conversation that appears harmless. You resist the urge to push. Trust cannot be rushed. The meeting lasts only minutes, but it creates a natural reason for another. Afterwards, the team debates what the contact meant. Was the person genuinely interested, merely polite, or deliberately testing you? Analysts compare behavior, background reporting, and local context. No single observation proves anything. Intelligence is built from uncertain fragments that may still be wrong. The next meeting is longer. The potential source speaks about frustration inside their organization and hints at hidden decisions. You listen more than you talk. Dissatisfaction is not the same as willingness. Your job is to understand the difference without pushing them away. The team decides the source may be ready for a direct approach. The meeting is carefully supported, and you explain that the relationship would be secret and risky. There is no dramatic speech. The source must choose freely. When they agree, it feels less like victory and more like responsibility. The source provides a small piece of information. It is not sensational, but it fills an important gap in a wider assessment. For the first time, something you helped collect changes what senior officials understand. Nobody celebrates. The report moves quietly through secure systems while the source remains protected. The source becomes nervous after security checks increase at work. Headquarters wants more information, but the person's safety comes first. The team reduces contact and pauses collection. It is frustrating, yet necessary. Sometimes the strongest operational decision is to stop. A crisis develops, and headquarters wants urgent reporting. The source may have access, but contacting them could expose the relationship. In the operations room, urgency collides with duty of care. Intelligence work often means choosing between competing risks, knowing that no option is clean. A limited meeting is authorized. Surveillance teams are positioned and contingencies reviewed, but rain, traffic, and police activity disrupt the schedule. The exchange lasts only minutes. You leave with potentially vital information, but no certainty that the meeting remains secure. On the way back, the support team notices the same vehicle appearing too often. It could be coincidence, or it could be surveillance. You follow instructions and avoid sudden behavior while the team assesses the pattern. The hardest part is acting normal when your body is warning you to run. The team aborts future contact. The source receives emergency instructions and is told to remain quiet. Months of careful work are suddenly frozen. You return to the apartment wondering whether they are safe. There's no screen that can give you an answer. Days later, the source misses 2 planned safety signals. Local media reports an unnamed arrest inside their organization. You do not know whether it is them, but the timing is impossible to ignore. Every meeting and decision is reviewed while you search for the moment something may have gone wrong. A review panel reconstructs the operation. Were risks understood? Were warnings discounted? Did pressure affect judgment? You explain your decisions without protecting your pride. The goal is not punishment alone. It is to understand what failed and prevent someone else from paying the same price. At home, your partner notices that you are distant. You cannot explain the source, the arrest, or the guilt. You only say that work has been difficult. Secrecy protects operations, but it also creates loneliness for the people closest to you. You're brought back to London for desk work. It feels like failure, but headquarters needs operational experience inside its assessment teams. You now see how individual sources contribute to a wider strategic picture. The work is quieter, but the decisions still affect lives. Reporting suggests that a hostile state may be preparing a cyber operation against critical infrastructure. Some sources agree, others contradict them, and technical indicators remain incomplete. Political leaders want certainty that intelligence cannot provide. Your team must clearly separate fact, assessment, and speculation. You help prepare a briefing for senior ministers. Every sentence matters because careless wording can turn an assessment into apparent fact. Officials ask how confident you are and what happens if you are wrong. You resist the pressure to sound more certain than the evidence allows. After the briefing, a junior analyst spots a small inconsistency in the timeline. It changes the interpretation of a key report. The team reopens the assessment immediately. Rank does not make evidence disappear. You encourage the analyst to challenge the room. The revised assessment lowers confidence that an attack is imminent but warns that preparation continues. The correction is sent quickly despite the embarrassment. Credibility depends on admitting when the picture changes. Intelligence is not prophecy, it is disciplined uncertainty. Years later, you mentor a talented new officer who is eager to prove themselves. You recognize the impatience that once made you stand too close during surveillance training. You teach them that courage is not recklessness. It is acting while respecting risk, procedure, and the people involved. A troubling pattern appears across several operations. Different sources are providing information that seems slightly too convenient. Security officers consider deception or a double agent, but suspicion is handled carefully. False accusations can destroy careers. Evidence must come before fear. A small authorized team compares access logs, travel patterns, and reporting timelines. You provide operational context but are not told everything. Compartmentation now applies to you. Being excluded feels uncomfortable, yet limited access is what protects the investigation. The evidence points to an experienced employee passing information to a hostile service. The discovery is devastating because the person was respected and trusted. Security officers make the arrest quietly. There's no dramatic confrontation. The building absorbs the shock and continues. After the betrayal, damaged operations are reviewed and some sources must be relocated. Others disappear from contact. You help younger staff understand that one traitor does not make trust impossible. It makes verification essential. Responsible trust always includes safeguards. You return overseas in a senior role, now responsible for other officers and their operations. Every proposed meeting and emergency plan crosses your desk. Leadership means carrying risks that other people will physically take. The decisions feel heavier because you know how easily confidence can hide uncertainty. Political unrest spreads through the capital. Roads close, communications fail, and crowds gather near government buildings. Your team protects staff, secures sensitive material, and helps vulnerable sources without exposing them. There is no room for dramatic improvisation. Preparation keeps people alive. A long-term source faces immediate danger and cannot remain in the country. A discreet extraction plan brings together diplomats, security teams, and officials across borders. You watch each stage from the operations room. When the source and their family reach safety, the relief is profound. Eventually, you decide to leave. There's no public medal ceremony and no detailed story you can tell. You return your passes, clear your desk, and say goodbye to colleagues who understand the hidden parts of your life. Walking out feels both lighter and emptier than expected. Years later, a locked notebook, plain travel bag, and face-down identity pass sit in an empty room at sunrise. The life of a spy was never endless glamour. It was patience, paperwork, secrecy, doubt, and responsibility for people placed in danger. The job gave your life purpose, but it demanded pieces of the life in return.